Okay, I'll go ahead and call the Education Committee meeting to order. There is a set of minutes for January 12th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Oh, 1 second. On the fourth paragraph, at the bottom, it says that there was a motion that was made by Commissioner Bernard and seconded by Commissioner Glover. Who? Never mind. Sorry.
All right.
I wasn't saying him and I.
Okay. Director's report.
Just talk about a few things going on. Build off of, we're still in communication with FEMA. Still trying to set some more meetings with them. I think we've had, 3 different managers of accounts or claims. So we're trying to still get everybody caught back up as we work through that process. Some of it has been obligated, but we're working on getting more obligated through FEMA and TEMA. We have just some highlights on what's going on at West Wilson. Has a construction meeting there yesterday. January hurt us a little bit. I think if I remember correctly, lost 14 days due to weather, but they are making progress. A lot of slabs have been poured already. In sections of the building, they've sectioned it off to try to make it move faster. If you've been by there, you can see the gym is the walls are about up, and they're already in the planning phases for their joists, maybe within the next 2 weeks to get joists on that part of it, and that'll be a big step. We'll get that thing dried in, it'll go quicker. We'll be moving out the portables. Supposed to be here. The company's supposed to be here Monday, putting them on their locations, and that will allow them to finish their footer work and get all the footer work done, hopefully within the next 2 weeks at West Wilson Middle. But we need that building as soon as possible. We're stretched right now, combining the schools, but everybody's pulling together. So, and that will eventually alleviate some of the traffic problems we've encountered. Now that might get middle. If we get that other building, might move it down the street a little bit, but it will help in that. Already starting to work on budget, starting our first meetings, and our principals have all working on their budgets. Departments have been turned in. We'll be going over those and start putting our budgets together to meet the timeline. Other than that, it's just we're in that phase, getting ready to, believe it or not, head to spring break. Goes at that last night of testing and the fun part of the school year for that. But we feel good about, from an education standpoint, our internal data looks good. We think we're still making ground academically. That's something we monitor on a regular basis, and we'll be closing that out after spring break and move into testing. What we have for you tonight, we do have a couple of budget amendments. If you want to move right in. Was any questions for me on the report?
I've got one.
Just one question. Just curious. Are all the people out there going to stay in the county, or are they going away?
We're going to use them all. We're going to put 6 at
You
one
probably
site.
already told us
We're going
that.
to put 6 at one site, and the other will go to the other site, which will be west and Mount Treat Middle, to try to alleviate some of the crowding there. But we need them. Of course, we are going to hook up utilities to all of them, and that's going to be a cost, but we feel like we need to do that.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I've got one for you. I've been contacted by both parents and some teachers about science curriculum and CTE curriculum. So I wanted to see if there were actually any issues or what your thoughts were about it, and then if that was something that we need to look at as we go into the budget process.
I don't think it's a budget issue. I know a little bit about what you're talking about. I'm not familiar with CTE. I'll have to investigate that. Give you a little background. As you know, curriculum cycles are currently 6 years. There is a law a bill's been filed that would move that to 8 on standards and curriculum, which could be a saving for schools. So curriculum adoption is a cost, a real cost. One of the things in recent years that have been done that for various reasons. Curriculum business has changed a little bit. You got so much digital, and we've moved some to digital format, some of them we've not. But on the science curriculum, once I took over as director of schools, I did hear a lot of complaints from teachers, mostly with my complaints, that they did not like the curriculum we were using. It was all a digital format. November of last year, after listening to that, got some textbook personnel involved, and we began to looking at a mid-cycle. So if I remember correctly, our science was probably 3 years ago that we adopted that. So I looked at the cost of a mid-cycle adoption and did not feel like it was cost effective to do a full adoption mid-cycle, because this year we are doing math. The year before that we did ELA. And to give you a tune, I think in our budget we put $5 million aside for math adoption. That's what it costs. That's in this year's budget. Now I did make it part of the priority budget I believe in. I think we should take care of curriculum up front. And so we put $5 million in for that. We'll be adopting that coming up. But when I looked at the science, I heard enough. We got some teachers together. We got with different companies, what could we purchase mid-cycle. We could not afford a full adoption. That would be making 2 adoptions in 3 years. We used semester money, which was approved by the state, and we spent, I think, $260,000, a little bit more, to come up with science curriculum adoption mid-cycle year. It was not a full adoption. Teachers got a teacher's edition. They got a student notebook that I have an email from the company that I've been working with to explain, because we've heard some of the same complaints. That's what McGraw-Hill was the company. Of course, it was state-approved curriculum. And McGraw-Hill stated that most districts, that's what they adopted was a student notebook. There is a shift in standards. Anytime you change standards, there's a shift from instructional to assessments. And there is, during that 3-year period, when we adopted those science standards, of course, that's by the state. It's more of an inquiry-based, which is kind of how some of us learn. You know, we were taught to you form a hypothesis, and then you go through it, you research, and you prove it, and you come up with a report. You're seeing a shift back to that, believe it or not. So we do want our science instruction to be more hands-on. We want our kids doing projects and looking at things and drawing from that and reflecting that. That's what this curriculum is designed to do. Teachers got on board with that, and we spent that $260,000. There is another book that a lot of teachers would like to have. When I reached out to the company, they said, well, the purpose of that is a reference book. It is a hardback book, but it's only for reference. It's not needed. They do have a digital, they have that book digitally. So where we're at, we're still investigating, we're still meeting. As the complaints come in, we did address them, and I addressed them with our team. We're going to do some retraining. They've already been trained, but we want to do some retraining. And those complaints that we're getting, they're real, and we want to address it, we will. Anytime you have a shift in curriculum, there is partials of the effectiveness takes a while to build as teachers learn to use that. We want to make sure they're using it properly. So we'll be looking at some more retraining, and at this time, though, I do not have the funding to go into a adoption of more curriculum and spending more money when I have math could be $4 to $5 million adoption followed up. Now, what you will see in that upcoming budget, I will continue to budget money for curriculum. I don't think you can get away from that. Now, if we're not on an adoption year, you might see that line item decrease. But we're addressing it, feel comfortable we can, and encourage, I met with the principals about it. We've got a great science, our science coordinator does a great job. And part of this is we just got to make sure that we are getting the resources that they need and that they understand. And if there's something more, we can always look at it. But a district our size and mid-cycle, it's hard to replace a curriculum. It's just not cost effective.
I understand. Thank you for addressing that.
And I will look at the CTE. I want to know more specifics. Again, I want CTE to be hands-on. and learning with their hands and the skills, depending on what that is. So I will look into that, see if there's a problem there.
Now, is that countywide, that curriculum issue for science?
Well, we're hearing it out of certain pockets, but no, I've got other teachers saying, no, this is much better than what we had.
Say,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's proper to bring up the school board meeting, but that one
Yeah.
parent that from Lakeview that expressed the concern, and that was.
And that's the first I'd heard of that to that degree, and we will get with that school with our team to support them. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Next, we do have a couple of budget amendments, and let's see which one is first. Lisa, if you want to go ahead and explain the first budget amendment, then I want to talk about the next one.
Sure. The first one is the 2023-07. First line item, we received high cost money from federal government, and it came in higher than what we had budgeted, so basically we're just increasing that revenue line item for the difference in the amount, and then adding it to our contracts with private agencies to pay contracted services for special ed.
Motion to approve.
Second. Having a motion and a second to approve, request number 07. Any questions? Yes, sir. Who the contract with it?
Our contracts are with various OT, PT, all for our special ed students that need services.
What's the name of the contract?
There are various, we have quite a few of them.
We would love to hire them in-house,
Yes, we
but
can
we
get the
can't
teachers, for
compete
sure.
with the salary. And that's what we run into. And some of them are behavior specialists too.
Are they local companies? They have to work with
They are.
They are, yeah.
They don't have names for them.
Well, we could get it, but it's various. I mean,
I know one of the companies we contract with, I don't know if Wilson County does, Dynamic Therapy, they're down off 109. They provided a lot of our students with those resources, and yeah, most of them are local people.
The Project Play is one of them that I've
Yeah.
heard, and
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Number 8.
okay. The next one is requesting to move funds from unassigned fund balance, transfer out of general purpose school fund to the educational capital project fund to budget design fees, and which will include the management fees through that project for the new elementary school in Double Log Cabin Road. Does not request any new money. My reasoning behind this, our fund balance, after we take this out, will be still a little under 20 million. So when I looked at where our fund is at, I personally and professionally feel like there's no reason to ask the commission to fund that, put this in a bond when we have the money it's sitting there, which will allow us also. I like the bid process that way better, because my plan is if this goes through full commission, take it to the board in March with a plan that they can approve or start discussing. And then at that point, once we get it through the board with an approved plan, then we go out to bid. I like that process better than coming and asking you to fund me X amount of dollars on an estimate and then we don't know. I'd rather approve the plan, we can pay for it, it won't cost, it will not be in the bond. That allows us, then we can lay it down and say bid it, and then we determine, the commission will determine, do we want to fund it or not. And I think that's a better bid process. When you let out how much you have approved and then you put it to bid, my way of thinking, that kind of sets a price. I want you to bid the plan and see if we can be as cost effective in the bid process as possible.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions?
Yes.
By doing this, it doesn't have to go to a bond, so therefore it doesn't have to take out anything to go to the Lebanon Special. Is that correct?
No, it's our money, correct? It's coming out of our funds.
Okay.
So
Once it goes to a bond,
they get their part.
Okay.
correct.
question about that. Has anybody ever asked the state?
The students of Wilson County get the
I
bond.
understand.
That's a good one.
Students get the bond.
Understand. Has the state ever been asked to release the county from that stipulation?
It's under legislative act, if I'm correct.
It does require legislative.
I understand it requires legislative act, but have we ever gone that route to say,
It's really not, it's really not that. What it is that when we borrow, when we use money, that we borrow money to pay off a debt, and everybody in the county, we take their tax dollars to do that, they deserve a right on the bond that they're paying. That's why we have to give a percentage. So on this particular bond right here will be around 50 million, we're thinking. And that money's going to come from the special purpose school tax fund that's already been shared, so we will not share it. We have that in the So when I ask, so when we take out the pot of money that we got, that everybody pays into, every citizen, so when you borrow that money for education, then every one of those people that are paying in deserve a portion of that, and that's why we have to give them their share of that if I use that money. The money set aside in special purpose school tax fund has already been shared. That is totally the debt service on the people that pay outside of the special school district. And that's why we don't share that when we use that fund. That's why it's set up. 3/4% of sales tax. Does that make sense?
And it's a whole
Some
lot
way.
cheaper to do it that way than it would be for Wilson County to try to educate that pro rata share of the students in the Lebanon Special School District. You can ask all the authorities across the state, and they will tell you that.
Yeah.
it was a stupid question.
But
If you've got dedicated sale, or property tax.
well, there's a lot of factors that figure in.
Right, yeah, but you've
Buildings,
got, well, what I mean is that you've got different funding mechanisms that fund directly into your school district that,
not to go down a rabbit hole with the,
yes,
so Wilson County Schools doesn't carry debt. Lebanon Special
Right.
School District does carry debt. So really, our special school tax only covers our debt. So we
Okay.
we have to carry our own debt. It really doesn't cover all of it, but, so that's another, so we're not rich by any means, but
I wasn't saying that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Only question I have, will we be utilizing some of the plans that we currently have on some of the elementary schools, or is this gonna be totally new?
This one's gonna be a little bit different because of change of the roof. It's a similar plan,
Okay.
obviously. And understand, this will cover the design, it's a 5% design and management fee, which is really good. So, but yes, it will include, now, ideally, what I would like to do, once we approve this, because I asked that question, if I pay for this plan, that's my plan now. And then I can take that and say, will this fit on this site? Can you build? So I like the fact that we're using our funds to say, this is a school we want to build. And I've seen a preliminary, it's not finished. Of course, the board will have they can make adjustments to that plan request. And we would like to start this process and bring it to the March meeting if we get this approved.
And not to go down the rabbit hole, but I think it's a good time to share. The special school district is funded with all of our dollars. They're really our kids too. The budget they have is 20-something million. That special purpose school tax, that special LSC tax is about $1 million. I mean, it's very little. But they're all our kids at the end of the day. They get their portion of sales tax that comes in the county and their portion of the property tax. So they're all the same kids. I mean, so, yeah, so at the end of the day, it's all funded the same way. And that LSC's taxes,
They're still county kids, just under different names.
they're all.
are.
thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Jeff, you have anything else?
I don't. Is there any
Okay,
questions for me?
any old business? Any new business?
I thought, do you want the honorary resolutions here, or do you want it steering? I have two.
Go ahead.
You don't have to get those approved.
Okay, well, I didn't know if education wanted to sign on, so
Well, if you want them to,
It's
but I
up to
mean,
you guys.
they don't have.
we'll do it at steering.
Well, you'll have to, do it- what I'm saying is you'll have to do it any place unless you just want to.
I'm doing 2 honorary resolutions. I would love to have all 25 commissioners sign on to both of them. Gladeville Middle School's girls basketball team made it to the Final Four. It's the first time that Gladeville Middle School has actually gone to a state tournament for any of their sports teams. They placed 4th in the state. And then Mount Juliet Middle School boys basketball placed 2nd in the state this year. This is a huge accomplishment for them. So I would love to have everybody's signatures.
I'll fix the resolution
There we
with
go.
25 names on there.
If it's comfortable with you guys. If nobody, if nobody wants to sign on, or if you do not want to sign on, let me know. We'll take care of that. Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay. We are adjourned, y'all. Thank you very much.